it all starts with finding the great insight, and what does even insight mean? So that was uh, the constant question which I kept discussing with Mithun, and we thought like, it's a great point of time to actually talk about insights, considering that everybody is actually going after COVID and people safety and other things. But like, how do we create a differentiation insight? So without much ado, I'm handing over it to Mithun. Mithun, can you please take over?
Hi, Pranesh. Thank you. Just taking a moment to beam the screen from this side.
So guys, we will make this a little interactive. There is a question answer section for the webinar. I'll pick up the questions as and when you ask, and then probably we can discuss this over live along with Mithun, so that it's a little bit more interactive, right? Mithun, I'm sorry to interrupt. You can carry on.
No, Pranesh, thank you very much for the kind and generous introduction as always. And good evening to everyone who are here. Thank you for taking the time out on a Friday evening. And I'm very, very happy to be part of this webinar. I will follow the same format what Pranesh did. I will talk about a very little bit about autumn and then about the subject we are here to discuss on, and then quick takeaways followed by a Q&A. That is how I'm thinking we will progress today. So Autumn Gray is one of the top digital marketing companies in the country. We service brands across different portfolios, right from CPG, FMCG to apparel, entertainment, to name a few. A lot of different kind of varied clients that we work with that gives us a good rich experience to understand consumers from different lenses, right? So having said that, we also got acquired by WPP recently, and Gray Group is our company now. So from Autumn Worldwide, we have become Autumn Gray. That happened recently. And coming to what Autumn does, we are, like I said, an end-to-end digital marketing outfit that has varied capabilities from insights to e-commerce to creative and all the important solutions that a digital marketing company should provide. So what do I do? I and my team are analysts. We take care of data, listening, and insights, where we do a lot of listening towards consumers. We do a lot of online reputation management work, media, search, and recently also, like for quite a few years now, like Pranesh mentioned, we also have ventured into command center management solutions. That means we take care of command centers which is live wire inside the client organizations, and do a lot of live data crunching for leading these insights, right? So that's what we do. But what we really do for our clients is humanize data and make that meaningful, which help them take actionable action in the real time or in the given time, right? So a data, bringing the right data faster to the table and helping that data in the decision making, which is leading to an impact. So that process is consistently what we strive to work with our clients, and that's what we call the sweet spot, and that's where we play. Talking of humanizing insights, that is where Autumn has been working with Qoruz for over 7 years now. Like God knows, 7 years is too long in this era, and that means we literally are partners who have been helping our clients find relevant solutions. Specifically with Pranesh, it's never been a project. It's always been a collaboration, and we just get kicked because motives are same, and the purpose is same. We just like to go towards a solution that is feasible and viable for our clients and to us, right? So that's how experience has been with the Chorus team so far. So moving on to the topic of the day, I'm just breaking this down into two parts. What happened in the case that we want to present in deconstructing the journey of building resonating campaigns. In this process, I'm going to present what happened, followed by how did we do it, or how did we arrive at it. So now I am going to show you what happened. Okay, so uh, here we are seeing a picture that traveled quite a lot on the internet, because this local publication called London Top covered this news saying this cops help these two children who are street children one is a 6-year-old and 10-year-old who lost their parents, and the cops are trying to help them sell out just before Diwali. And there is no motive, right? Like, it's suddenly, why do you feel that a cop is trying to help a street vendor with no purpose, right? When probed, the cop said that I saw a video online, and this thing motivated me to help these kids do this kids to sell out on a Diwali, pre-Diwali occasion, right? So that's what happened. I'm just going to play this video very quickly for you.
निकले जो तुम आज घर से फरमाइशों की फेहरिस्त साथ लेके, बटुए में बंद करके वो नोट 1000, तुम निकले भरी दोपहरी खरीदने बाजार।
माँ दिए?
हाँ जी ले।
इस चकाचौंध इस धक्का मुक्की में शायद तुम लेना भूल गए, ये कच्ची मिट्टी के पक्के दिए तुम साथ ले जाना भूल गए।
अम्मा दिए देना।
भूल गए बचपन में कैसे इनसे घर रोशन करते थे।
स्माइल।
तुम जिद करके बार बार 2 दिए ज्यादा लिया करते थे।
हैप्पी दिवाली।
अरे लल्ला, जब तक ये सब बिक ना जाए काहे की हैप्पी दिवाली। अरे तू रहने दे लल्ला, अब तू मेरी छोड़, खुश रह खुश रह। ये ले ये तो रख ले।
थैंक यू अम्मा। और आप फिक्र मत कीजिए, सारे दिए बिक जाएंगे। बाय।
इसी आस की मिट्टी लेकर मैं आशा के दिए बनाती हूँ, और हर दिवाली जर्रा जर्रा मैं इसी बाजार बिखर जाती हूँ। अरसे बाद वो आज फिर यहाँ आया है, सालों बाद उसने इन दियों को गले लगाया है। बुझ गई थी उम्मीद की जो आखिरी मशाल, इस दिवाली किसी ने उस अंधेरे में एक हल्का सा दिया जलाया।
अम्मा दिए?
अरे अब एक भी दिए ना बचे लल्ला।
कहा था ना अम्मा, सारे दिए बिक जाएंगे।
इस दिवाली आप भी उम्मीद का एक दिया जलाएं, किसी और की दिवाली को भी रोशन बनाएं। हैप्पी दिवाली।
Yeah, so that was a film that made the cop take that turn in terms of helping the street kids. And yes, this is a film that we produced for our client HP, and yes, this struck all the right chords of emotion, right? So talking of emotion, what kind of response did we get from the people, right? Like, I personally would like to pick 3 important things that it evoked, right? Like, one is a positive attitude or positive sentiment towards the street vendors, making them relevant back to us. The second emotion is a deep emotion, which is a empathy, right? Like, if you can make someone tear up in their eyes, not cry, tear up in their eyes, that means you have literally touched their inner feelings, right? Like, so that's the second most important thing. The third thing, not necessarily in that order, but appreciating the brand for taking such a stance, right? Like, appreciating HP, in turn appreciations also to their extended team, who is us, in the process of people recognizing the effort by a brand, right? Like, so this, when it is deep and we are like, when we are penetrating deep into these emotions, it's touching the right chords and it is calling out the right emotions. Talking of that, we
One,
are
like, I just wanted to understand this. I mean, like,
yeah,
so the conversations were actually part of the brand pages, or were they sharing it across as well? How were you tracking this?
these few things I have picked up clip from the main film only, Pranish. But while the campaign was live, we were almost because from the we were the command center team also. We are tracking the campaign, sorry, live. That means we were tracking across. There are a
Okay.
lot of places the video was downloaded and re-uploaded into their own channels. We were keeping an eye on that. We pretty much saw similar responses from people across wherever the uploads happen. Not just there, all these lot of native publishers also started publishing without, I don't think it was a paid campaign, while lot of platforms, like more than 45 platforms picked up, and they shared, few of them shared on their own Facebook channels, right? Suppose, let's say brand equity shares this video on their channel, similar emotions were evoked there. More importantly, I wanted to like show some numbers, not for the sake of showcasing numbers. The number that matters to me is the number which is driving relevance or driving what do you say, change, right? Like people relating to it. The important word we started with the presentation, resonance, is measured by shares, right? When people share, when it cascades, when the content travels among the certain beyond a certain boundaries of audience, that is when it has touched. 500,000 is a big number for me. More than 500,000 shares is a big number for me, especially when it is achieved within just 18 days, like just not even 3 weeks of time, right? So that is what is the impact from the larger big picture perspective. But on ground, this is the truth, right? Someone like Ankit, you're on mute, Pranish.
Mithun, we have a question as well. I mean, like, one of the
Okay.
boxes actually say uplift. Can you switch back to the previous thing? One of the things says that, like, visits to the site, right? I mean, there are
Yeah.
also a question says that what is the effectiveness of the campaign? Did HPC sales uplift during this period?
So that's why I put this metric, direct visits to ecom, that is their OLS, online store. HP's online store saw a certain delta raise in traffic, right? I'm not officially I'm not authorized to put that number, and hence I've made it XX. Hence this
Okay.
naturally, like it did impact on the traffic. Sales, of course, is internal numbers. I'm not authorized to comment
Oh,
again.
please continue. Sorry, Mithun. That's it.
No, no, fine. But this is an indicator, no? This is a surrogate saying the direct visits to OLS, the e-com sites of HP, is a good enough indicator that the delta increase is relevant
Got it.
during the campaign period.
Got it.
Yeah. So talking of the impact, like someone, this is again another clipping that I took, is to talk about the impact, right? Like how it touched the lives of the people. This person at that, Ankit, at the time on age of internet, where our attention span is so low and we are exposed to so many apps and so many videos inside those apps, this person actually went down to a street vendor, bought diyas, took action. Not just that, he remembered the brand, he remembered the page or remembered the video. He came back and posted this in his comment. Imagine the amount of effort. Ask, like we all run comments, like contests, like all the digital marketers here. We know, we understand how difficult it is to run contests, which has a little more extra step. Probably the participation will drop by 50%, right? In those times, you are not even asking anything, and people are voluntarily telling, hey, HP, look, I did my part. Hey guys, look, I did my part. Now it is your turn to do your part. Let's support local. This is the right thing to do. And that is what people followed, right? So from the cop who took that action by looking at the video to the everyday people who have taken action, I feel this has touched a lot more lives and touched the lives of street vendors for sure with this film, is what I would like to believe. So this was a sharp insight, right? And yet I believe it was a simple insight because it can be related to anybody, right? Like you and me, Pranesh, or like all of us, somewhere our interaction with street vendors is always constant, right? So hence I'm calling it an insight which is simple and yet sharp. How did we arrive at this insight? We would like to break it down into like a few steps, like a 8 steps thing on how we went ahead, and I'm jumping straight into that. So we're saying step 1, know your playground. Diwali is a brief product, HP printer. We want to be relevant. Why we want to be relevant? We want to be also unique. We want to stand out. Hence, and Diwali is the Christmas of India. No, sorry, it's not the Christmas of India. Diwali is the Diwali of India, and hence there is a peak period of consumer like purchase. Everybody is rushing to the market. We all know like Diwali is the most important season for an India marketer. That means every brand is trying or doing something great to be able to stand out or to differentiate or through different things, right? So hence the challenge here was to break the clutter, to find out a unique insight, also showcase or place the product in a relevant manner in during the Diwali season, right? Step 2 is to deep dive to understand more about brands. Why more about brands? Because we as brands would have done a lot of research in terms of owning a particular space or an emotional cluster that needs to be taken, right? So if look at this on the left side, this is 3-year data that we looked at. We pulled our listening hats and we said we will see what brands did for the last 3 years, and we went on to see that these were the broad emotional clusters or spaces that brands had taken. Family bonding has been taken by so many brands in the last 3 years. Do good generic message, like do good during Diwali kind of messaging, taken by so many brands in all 3 years, right? Then family with guests, friends, homecoming, all these spaces is what brands are driving. So we know that even if we have to enter through a mood, there are some broad moods that people are familiar with. If you choose a unique mood, we know where to not overstep, right? So now we know the demarcations or the boundaries that the brands have taken when doing these campaigns for Diwali from previous few years, right? Step 3 we are saying is
I,
analyze.
I have a question here. I mean, which I would actually want to know as well.
Yeah.
How much of, I mean, in the previous slide, like how much of that like was actually manual process and how much of that was automated? Because this involves actually trying to take out data for you have mentioned it's more than 3 years of data,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do you go about doing this?
So Pranish, obviously to fetch all this brand content, we would have used all the tools, like a lot of tools, like a listening tool or a brand channel analytics tool.
Mhm.
We obviously the analysis is manual because this is a pure use case, like a very custom use case, right? Like I
Mhm.
don't think tools are intelligent enough to like go through the videos and emotions and music and text and sound, everything, club it and call it one space, right? Like I think we are little ahead, like that is little ahead of times to ask a tool to classify into
Okay.
spaces.
Uh,
But I think we will get there someday. That's a good aspiration. But a lot of us had to spend some time on this mining this data, right? Like so we had some time and we had to go through this.
yeah, Ushma had asked it, so I just thought of asking it. Go
Oh, no,
on.
please keep interrupting. Step 3, after looking at brands, is we are saying we looked at the consumers to analyze the mood, right? Like what people are going through, what people are saying, what people are talking about when just before Diwali, like probably 1 week before Diwali and during Diwali, right? Like there is a close to million conversations that happened, and hence we obviously could not like go through all the million. Hence we took a sample before Diwali and during Diwali. We said, okay, let's put them in a certain order. Going into step 4, refine the noise from signals. So we wanted to see what our signals are, right? So we are saying that there are large mood spaces that are there, which is like wishing, Diwali celebration, family, friends. Then there are generic spaces like shopping, save the environment. Then there are emerging spaces, right? Like pets, don't hurt your pets, like keep them safe. Don't buy Chinese products, or there are a lot of different emerging themes that keep coming up. then we said, okay, let's see what is coming out unique as in step 5. We further probed and isolated the queue, and we said we started calling it our insight, right? There are a lot of conversations, like 1 million conversations that are happening probably, and less than 1% of the people are talking about street vendors near their places and how they are going through difficulties. Then we also saw conversations around people saying diyas and how they light up their house during Diwali. Then we said shopping obviously is our space, and hence these people are our people, right? Going in, then we said, okay, this looks interesting, not cluttered, differentiated, and something unique. Hence going into step 6. Yeah, here we're saying validate the insight. We said there seems to be a unique insight in the plight of street vendors as a space. Then we said let's look at some research reports and articles to validate further. We felt a little more or a lot more stronger when we saw so much available already on this subject and nobody is talking about it. Step 7, we said let's look at one more source and double check if we want to last time, because we saw so many data sources, right? Like we saw the brands and what they're doing, we saw consumers and what they are talking about, we saw a few research articles and reports, and now we are looking at the government Ministry of Labor data, which is saying that they are the first ones to get affected in any kind of modernization or in any kind of what do you say, in any kind of changes that happen. They are the people who are going to take a big hit, and their average income per day is nothing, is near to nothing. Hence it gave us a strong sense of purpose and a meaning to take on this as a subject. Now that you have chosen the insight, the step 8 is to plug the content story, like plug the connect and to the story. So shopping is big part of Diwali, which we already know. Then we are saying the community is getting modernized. That means I may be starting to go and purchase from a mall. I may be going and picking up a lot of stuff from e-com by sitting at home. The modernization has changed a few of the culture aspects of how consumers shop. At the same time, traditionally we have always been connected to our street vendors, and even today we stay connected to our street vendors. It's just that it is going down and down as we speak. Hence again a revalidation to say this is the space that we want to take. The final part to the idea is Diwali, the festival of light and prosperity, trigger an emotion and support that street vendor community as coming together of all these things. Most important thing is Diwali is the festival of prosperity, not just for employees, not just for consumers. It is also for vendors. It is for all of us. Diwali is the festival of prosperity, and hence that is the message that we wanted to carry forward. Hence the idea Umid Ka Diya. Now you know what happened, because I showed you the film and I showed you the impact. We already saw what happened, and I just showcased how we did this, right? In the same you're on mute, Pranesh.
Sorry, Mithun, I have a couple of questions which, I have got. One is, any particular reason why you didn't pick on any other insight? Do good was circled and other things were also there. How did you go about picking this particular insight as compared to everything else which you had shown, right? How much of the creative team influenced you in terms of picking it, or was it analysts which are helping the creative team to pick that insight?
No, that's a good question. So, when a campaign planning stage is like in a campaign life cycle, there is a planning stage and there is a execution stage and there is a measuring stage, right? Like that is how we analysts look at campaign as a life cycle for us. So in the planning stage is when we collaborate closely with our creative strategy teams, and we would have obviously picked up and chucked out a lot of things. The first thing will come and shout out is, hey, look, family bonding is shouting out loud, like, can we do something here, right? Then probably there are like 5 back and forths that would have happened between the analytics team and the strategy team. Deliberations would have happened, and then we said, okay, let's look at something unique. Is the probe that would have come from there, and hence we would have taken a look at this, and then we went further to pursue, right? So it is not like this graph happened, and the like I explained in a smooth fashion, it was definitely not like that. It was back and forth, and we would have deliberated a couple of times before arriving at this particular insight.
How
Yeah,
much
Pranish.
weightage was given to, I mean, like, based on the question which I have been asked, how much of like weightage was given to engagement in terms of like choosing one of these insights? I mean, like, were you looking for the volume of conversations, or were you looking for the engagement as a metric?
We see it is important to understand engagement and volume mentions. These metrics are important to understand the spaces that are going on, but the picking of the insight can either come from volume or come from value, or what do you say, or come from the strength of the insight, right? While I'll just give you an example.
Hmm.
uh, where we were tracking pollution in Delhi, people used to talk about it only when news spoke about it.
Hmm.
Let's say on a 1 week back, the pollution was high and the news media didn't pick up, people
Hmm.
would not talk about it,
Hmm.
right? So there needs to be a stimulus, and you need to understand what that stimulus is, right? In this case, the stimulus cannot be coming from volume, because everybody is understanding. I'm sure you and I agree that we buy from street vendors and we want to be helpful, but we don't have time probably, right? Like, or we don't care, or we have shifted our cultures. But
Hmm.
when we discuss about this subject, it is so relevant that you cannot ignore.
Hmm.
That is how strong the subject was, and
Hmm.
hence volume did not play a role here. The further deliberation played a role, is what I would like to call out.
Hmm. Okay. I'm sorry. Go on, Mithun.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to take more questions, but hence we saw like this is like a one detailed case study is what I wanted to share here. At the same time, what I wanted to do is to also present another case also, because we wanted to see if this pattern applies and if there are any differences in the two cases that we are going to show. This is around the time when Kerala had floods, and the whole place was devastated, right? Like everybody had issues and problems to do with infrastructure, like water flogging, people not finding food, water, electricity, mobile phones. We can name it. Everything was under the bus when this happened. Then we also saw that like we had like a brief from our client, like Samsonite, saying like, hey guys, we want to do something here, and hence what are the spaces that we can explore. Then we said we will go into the conversations. Samsonite being a like a travel brand, a luggage brand, stands for travel. Is tourism is so important for them. Then we looked at the data, which is truth kind of a data, where we're saying 10% of Kerala's GDP is tourism, 25% of their employment is from tourism. So that's a big number, right? Then we said, let's look at what are the conversations around floods. Apart from the big wave of conversations around how Kerala is going through the crisis, there were obviously standing out conversations about celebrities donating to Kerala funds, right? Like that is what they were evoking. Then there were brands like big brands, big corporates, conglomerates who are also doing their part, being the responsible citizens of these countries. They were also donating money. In the scheme of things, Samsonite was not that big a company which can donate, like probably like a big giant can donate, right? Like yet make an impact. So there were also brands like Paytm who are activating the purpose by having a pay or a donate button inside the app. So every brand is activating their purpose, and we were in search of our purpose. That is when we hit this insight where or a data point which says that within 48 hours 63% of the people canceled their flight, and just now we saw that 25% of the people's livelihood is dependent on tourism, and 63% of the people are not going to come to Kerala. That means they are going to be that cannot be imaginable, right? And hence we said that we need to activate our brand purpose and say that you, the consumer, you need to travel, and you need to travel to Kerala because the Kerala is open is a film that launched. I'm not going to play this film because I'm running short of time. We are open is a message that Samsonite said, that show your support by showing up, right? So that is the message that Samsonite wanted to leave behind the people. And again, this content piece traveled very, very long, and a lot of from us from Bangalore and in the south, I think, would have seen this video at least once. I feel confident to say that. Hence, this dynamic insight that came to us saying, like, something has to be done immediately. Kerala cannot not have tourists traveling to them, and hence we need someone to tell them, please come to Kerala. And the speed of this campaign was so fast that while the Kerala tourism campaign went live, we had gone live before that. Incredible India's campaign was going live, and we were almost there. I think we all Incredible India, Kerala Tourism, and Samsonite, all of us, I think, went live in a span of 1 or 2 days. And and hence how this is how big a role that a film played, not just by saying buy my stuff, but by saying travel to save a state, right? Like, that's what happened when we saw this. Pranish, I will.
There's a question around this, which is very relevant to the context also.
Yeah.
Nishant has asked, how do we start the process of such a campaign? To observe the metrics first, or to come up with the closest stimulus and then dive into check its effectiveness? It's very relevant to what you spoke right now.
Yes. So I think there is no one formula. See, usually what we believe internally, I'll tell you, right? Like, the insight can start from data and trigger a stimulus in our creative and strategy team, or the creative and strategy teams already have some thought or some direction, and we validate, right? Like, for instance, for Doritos, when we were looking at binge watching as a content pillar, team had already decided saying Doritos means watching OTT platforms.
Okay.
Now my command center team, tell me, is it right? That's the question that we got. Here they know already, but they want us to validate. In HP's case, we don't know. We are exploring. We are all over the place. We are seeing what to do. In Kerala's open phase, there is a certain notion that the tourism is not going to take place, and hence, is there anything that we need to explore? Was already down to that funnel where we stood, right? And hence, there is both ways. You have a hypothesis, you want to get it tested, or you create a hypothesis with everything or the larger scheme of things that are going on in the internet, and hence you pick or pick one thing that I want to own, right? It's both ways, no right or wrong. It depends on what situation that we have.
Got it.
Okay, because we are running late, I'm just going to jump into the takeaways that we want to leave all of you with. So the first takeaway is data is abundant and present across. This, I think, all of us know. I don't need to stress on this. Maybe if we go back 15 years, we would have waited for 3 months to understand the consumer space, versus today, we can, with a mix of gut and with a mix of a little bit of tools here and there, we can arrive at something relevant. Second, social conversations and brand posts are rich sources of insights. Brand posts, I already said, there are enough research that the brand has done. We need to just understand what spaces they own. But conversations are like ethnography study, right? You are looking at people when they are in the mood. When Diwali conversation analysis happened, people were about to celebrate Diwali or already celebrating Diwali. Similarly, if you look at people going to a movie or traveling by road, they are already going through this experience. You know them from their experience, and hence it is rich source of insights. Plan your campaigns well in advance. Again, we know how much time our clients give us usually, but this is what helped us in many cases. In case of Diwali, yes, but not in case of Kerala. I'm going to touch upon this subject in the next couple of points. So plan your campaigns well in advance. No insight is small, right? Like, that is what we saw in Diwali. And the question was also relevant, saying, did you look at engagement numbers? Did you look at mentions numbers? No, we looked at the insight and purely from a standalone evaluation perspective, and not from any other perspectives, right? So it was important for us to say that no, every insight, whichever look even close to relevant, we should probe further and say that I'm going to look deeper into this, right? So that is what we did. Fifth one is dynamic data is important for insights that is bang on. Kerala is just an example of, I don't want to call it out moment marketing because it sounds opportunistic in some ways, because Kerala is a campaign that is driven by purpose and driven by relevance, because we are not just saying using a moment to market something, we are using a moment to drive some purpose and look at a larger, deeper impact, right? That's what we try to do. So these are the 5 takeaways that I have on use data and see where, how you want to play and plan your data and how to place it, so you know, and you have a seamless landing onto an insight, not seamless, haphazard or like a jittery, but a landing onto your insight. What do you think, Pranesh? What are the, like, what do you want to say?
So when when we were discussing the topic, like, remember the first slide which I had like shared with you? I think that's the next slide which you have in the deck, right? There's like umpteen amount of like data points which are available, and finding out that red dot, which is going to be the key in terms of finding this. And there are some interesting questions. I mean, like, if you can keep this slide, there are some really interesting questions based on this. So one is Ushma has asked. With the recent changes in APIs, there are limitations in volumes and relevance of mentions. And how are you dealing with these limitations? How is Autumn Gray dealing with the constraint?
There are constraints, yes, I agree with you, but there are no limitation in the data sources also, right? If you don't have Instagram, you move to YouTube. If you don't, you have YouTube, you move to TikTok. So we are figuring out ways, but we are definitely we are also going through this challenge. It's a relevant question, but we are keeping an eye open on all the tools and possible places where we can source this data. We have, for instance, we have put out some programs to like fetch data from YouTube, like an internal program. It's not a tool that we sell, but a small tool that we have built, like an Excel kind of a tool, which can build to extract data from YouTube. Similarly, we have built a few different kind of routes to be able to work around this. Definitely, the APIs are a challenge, and we are strongly hoping this gets resolved in probably like next 6 months. To answer that question very specifically.
One of the other questions which I had got asked is, how do you see social listening evolving from text based to voice and image based? Since most of the content shared here is visual and the reach is also higher.
So I think social listening has been stuck as a term in our local market, but if we juxtapose to the international market, it is now become social intelligence, and the avenues are expanding, and the platforms are fragmenting. Right? Suppose, unless if Modi did a speech that everything is trending on every platform is trending, if not, YouTube trends are very different from TikTok trends. So it is all the more important to say that my trends and my platforms are fragmenting, my data sources are becoming different, right? Like there are now people started writing on Google Maps, people have started writing on e-com reviews, the sources are expanding. Like you said, there is visual medium is also picking up, like TikTok. While there are no solutions for channels like TikTok, we are obviously keeping an eye on expanding our sources from just text to going into audio also. Like for instance, our last campaign, Har Good Mein Swag with Pepsi, our campaign report included Savan listens, like how many people were listening to the Har Good Mein Swag audio on Savan, right? Like that was our campaign, one of our metrics, along with the video views that we were getting on YouTube, right? Like this is a reach mass campaign. So we are expanding our avenues into audio visual metrics also, to answer that question specifically.
Abhishek has asked, how are you dealing with TikTok data? Are you using any tools for TikTok?
There are few free tools and a few paid tools where it is not giving any different data from apart from what the platform is already giving. And but having been in touch with like specifically Pranesh and Qoruz and a few other tools, there are discussions open with TikTok with our partners. So I think we will see some light.
Cool. Anish has asked another question. Anish has asked us, like, how long do I analyze insights for a campaign similar to Diwali or anything similar?
Okay. Good question. This is, I think, I should tie this back to the, what do you say, responsibilities of a team. For instance, in HP, we run the command center. That means we understand the brand. We understand a lot of things to do with the consumers of the brand. And our job is to drive insights daily for this brand. So in this case, we would have ideally should have taken, like, let's say a 4 days or a 7 days kind of a scenario. In this, because there were a little bit of back and forth, we would have gone into a 10 days of research on this. Ideally, in today's kind of scenario, it should not take for, let's say, more than 48 to 70 hours is what my belief is. But we are also learning. We will head there.
Okay. Okay. Another question, which is like slightly a broader question. How do you think this is gonna, like, the insights are gonna change based on last year versus this year in a pandemic kind of a situation? Or do you think, like, learning insights from last year will even make any relevance in this year, even when you're planning something like a Diwali?
So this is a trick question because Diwali, we saw last Diwali and then we did this Diwali. Now last Diwali is completely different from this Diwali because I think we as people are going through a lot of tough times, right? Like already all of us are cursing 2020 in all the ways possible. So it's very scary from one side of how it is like kept us at home for such a long time, and a lot of habits that we have picked up in the last 60 100 days is so different from what we ever behaved or in believed in, right? Like suppose I, for instance, have stopped eating outside and like I'm only cooking food, like we are only cooking food at home, then I have not gone into a mall, not gone shopping, and hence the behavior of food or the behavior of staying at home has taught me living in a certain way, and suddenly I may not want to expose myself into so many things. The
Mm-hmm.
second is on my relationships and valuing deeper important things, right? Like my time with my family has become more qualitative. Meeting my friends has become a great thing now because I've never met them, like, or probably we meet once in 10 days. Before we used to meet every day, right? So that valuing those relationships has become even more important. There is a mentality of hoarding, but for instance, I am thinking twice before making any purchase these days, and I'm hoarding money and hoarding things that are not important for me. I'm not going to go for it, right? Like it's a lot more difficult to like tell the consumer to open up right now. And obviously the work from home has also created a culture of social distancing. Until there is a solution for COVID, a lot of people will still feel fearful to go out and shop in a mall or go out in a theater or go out on a dinner restaurant, right? So these things will have a deeper impact on the Diwali season if this continues like this for, like, probably, let's say, till August, right? So then it is becoming more evident that the consumer mindset is so very different than what it was last year. Hence, the closer reading of how people are feeling about the market scenarios will become all the more important to gauge and craft the campaign narrative, is what I would say.
Got it, Mithun. That's majorly about it. There are a couple of like other questions, but I think like you can take it up with Mithun offline anytime, and then we'll be
Yeah,
able.
absolutely.
Mithun, thanks for your time, Mithun, and thanks for joining us on a Friday evening, guys. You can hit me up anytime on my LinkedIn. You can just search for Pranesh, and I'm not doing a self promotion. We are also offering a freemium version of Qoruz, and I think somebody has asked how do I use the premium version of Qoruz. I think like that answers the question. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mithun. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure being here and sharing our learnings. Looking forward.